Good evening, everybody.
Are we live?
I think we are.
Do you want to confirm?
Can you confirm, Justine, that we're live? It's showing on Facebook that we're live, but it might be a little bit behind.
Okay, so, hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another Awake Facebook live event. So this is a first for us. We're actually using Zoom, and the reason why we thought we would try this format is it's my pleasure here to introduce Adam Amdur, who many of you probably already know. He's the Chief Patient Officer at the American Sleep Apnea Association. Hey, Adam.
Hey, Kevin, how you doing? I just got confirmed that we are actually officially live on Facebook.
No glitches. Well, welcome.
So no glitches and a 10-second delay.
Oh, okay, a 10-second delay. Good.
Yeah.
So I'm glad it's just not me all the time here. But Adam, I know a lot of people in the community know you, but do you want to just give us a little introduction about yourself and how you came to the American Sleep Apnea Association?
This is something I've wanted to do my whole life, Kevin. You know that. This field chose me. I didn't choose it. I was diagnosed when I was about 35 years old. That was about 10 years ago. In the midst of being diagnosed, it took about 6 months into my daughter's birth for me to realize that I had it. And then it took about 1.5 years after that before we realized that she had it. So theoretically, we saved 33 years or 35 years worth of incremental decline from a disease that we never knew was the underlying secret in our family's history. To go back in time, so at 35, I was diagnosed. I've done more professionally in the last 10 years than I have in the 25 before that as a result of this disease in hindsight. In the midst of getting myself well, and then putting on my mask and taking care of those around me, like my child, I was then able to help her and realize that she's the exception right now and not the rule. That my wife and I decided that now's the time we start getting the word out. And as much as we want to help everybody, it became really incumbent upon us to really focus on early recognition with pediatrics, because that's what, once we connected the dots and we saw it, how it ran in my family. You can look at my face on the screen here. I have a hard time looking at my face because I could see how small my mouth is. I appear to mumble my words. Literally, when my daughter and I bite into an apple, she has the bite. I have the bite of a 5-year-old. Her bite is twice as wide as mine now because we've done interventions to expand her airway. So that's a little bit about who I am.
Well, we're happy that you decided to give something back to the community and become a patient advocate. It's great to have you on board. And I know, again, a lot of people appreciate your input and what you're doing for the community. But I mean, the main reason we're here tonight is basically to discuss the exciting event that's coming up on June 8th. So I'm sure a lot of people have seen publicity about it, but I did want Adam to go through and talk about what people should expect. So do you want to just give us a brief overview of what's happening on June 8th and where?
So on June 8th in College Park, Maryland, right outside the FDA headquarters, we will be hosting the first ever patient-focused medical product development meeting. And that's a mouthful. Historically, the FDA has run what they call patient-focused drug development meetings. And they've done about 40 up to this point. They used to be internally led. Now they're externally led by patient advocacy associations for each corresponding disease that we represent. What makes us unique is that we're sleep apnea, but as we know, everyone sleeps, so everyone's really in our inclusion criteria. Whether you have sleep apnea or you're the bed partner of someone with sleep apnea, if their sleep is interrupting, it's most likely interrupting your sleep. So this has been a long time coming, and the FDA recognized when we submitted a letter of intention to host a meeting like this that we were the perfect cohort to actually host what they've now deemed a patient-focused medical product development meeting. And what that means is literally this will be the first time that the device side of the FDA and the pharmaceutical side will meet together to talk about one disease and all the products that are being used to manage this disease and from all the different disorders. I say a disease, it's really a syndrome. Sleep apnea, you know, there's, whether it's the nose, the mouth, the airway, or whatever else that could be doing to instigate these pauses in breathing. There's a lot of doors that we all walk into every day. And with that being said, it makes it really hard to look at the typical sleep apnea patient. When we submitted the survey that's online at awakesleepapnea.org, we're already up to about 2,200 organic responses from apnea patients from every state in the union, rural, urban, you name it, all walks of life, a pretty even gender split, socioeconomic levels from top to bottom. And it's really the most encompassing thing. And it's been so powerful because we have a lot of open source comments on the survey. And just reading through that alone is like reading people's life stories. So it made me feel as a patient that it's the first time in my life I don't feel alone. I feel like there's millions, unfortunately, that are like me and like you and like everyone else in our community. So to come back to your question, June 8th is the date that was agreed upon. It's a week from tomorrow. You could still register online to participate in the meeting. There'll be real-time polling. You'll be able to comment and question or share your emojicons on Facebook Live. And you could also partake in the survey if you haven't done so. And the survey will be opened up till after the meeting as well. That's a mouthful. I'll come up for air now.
So great. But I mean, I think you raise a good point, because things like this, a forum like that, it makes people, even on our Awake Facebook page, at least people feel that they're not actually alone and they can share experiences with other people's, and people's other experiences can help. So what kind of topics can we expect to hear at the meeting?
I'll put it in my English terms and not in the medical terms. To me, it reminds me of the famous Western movie that Sergio Leone did, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. We are going to hear the successful stories and people who've made it out on the other side of this disease and learned how to manage it and manage everything else that goes around with it at home and in their work life. We're going to hear about the failures, and we're going to hear about all the ugly, messy obstacles and obstructions that we have to go through all the way up to diagnosis, let alone at diagnosis, all the barriers and obstacles and obstructions that we have to face to get to good, proper treatment. So we are going to hear we have about 10 panelists that'll be on our panel that represent all walks of life and all different stages of the disease. We have like I said, a giant database right now of this surveys that really backs up everything that most of our patients are feeling and have felt with and are frustrated by. Most of our patients go 10, 12 years before they're ever diagnosed. And if we got to speed up that barrier, because that's a lot of damage that's being done in all of our lives and its impact on society.
Great.
I might have forgot your question.
Yeah. Remind people, where can they register to attend?
So the website is awakesleepapnea.com, and that's Awake, which is our Awake network, which stands for Alert, Well, and Keeping Energetic. Sleep apnea, APNEA, unlike the way the English spell it. Mm-hmm. But we do have a lot of foreign and international participants in our communities and on our page and in our groups and participating in a lot of different of our programs, like our CPAP assistance program or our Awake network, or even participating in our sleep health app on the Apple iTunes store that we have a new version coming out soon by the end of the summer.
Wonderful. And so, unfortunately, I can't make it. So for those that can't, will it actually be recorded or live streamed?
It will be live streamed and it will be recorded. So there always will be an archive of it on our website. There'll be a survey and report based on all the survey data we've collected, the real-time polling, and all the testimonials and comments of the transcript of the meeting. That'll be made available to the public about a month after the meeting. So if you can't make it in person, you'll always be able to come on and watch it at any time. And you'll be able, if you do it on Facebook, you'll be able to comment asynchronous. So it'll be in line with however the broadcast went. So you won't feel like you're out of place. And with that being said, if you happen to live in the surrounding Beltway area and within 175 miles and you're a patient or a caregiver of a patient, we're happy to provide you lunch, and we're happy to reimburse you for your car travel, train travel, or bus travel. Unfortunately, we don't have enough sponsorship money to offer everyone air travel to this meeting. That's why we're live broadcasting it. But we definitely want to have a representative population in the room for the FDA to meet. So anybody that's in that 175-mile area, we welcome you to come on June 8th. It's about 9 a.m. is registration. The day will end at about 4. We will provide lunch, and we will have a morning panel, and we will have an afternoon panel, and a whole lot of stuff in between.
Great, sounds exciting. So those that do have the opportunity to attend, will the audience actually have an ability to ask the panel questions?
Great question, Kevin. Not only will they have an ability to ask the panel questions, there will only be one doctor speaking, and that'll be the wrap-up by the FDA, and her name is Dr. Catherine O'Callaghan, who's very well-respected, renowned, part of what they call the CDRH, the Clinical Diagnostic Research, Radiological and Health part of FDA. But basically, the patients have set the agenda. We will be, with the moderator, leading the agenda, and we will have patients in the crowd, in the audience, online, and they can ask away and comment away as much as they want. The panelists are there to start and stimulate the conversation, but I know if I'm thinking it, and if you're thinking it, or if you thought it, we know that everyone else has probably got the same question. So we're going to make sure we get this out in the open, and for the people that want to remain quiet in the background, that's fine. And for the people that want to participate and get more vocal and active, we welcome you to come into it.
Great. Sounds really interactive. That's wonderful.
Yes.
So actually, just going back to the survey is still open, yes?
Survey is still open, and it'll be open till about 2 weeks after the meeting and before we'll close it.
So
when we're already at record numbers with the survey. We were already north of 2,200 as 22 completed surveys, and I'm sure you've seen the survey. It's a 31 question. It's comprehensive, and we're literally finishing completion rates. And this gets a little techie talk and medical talk, but 80% of the surveys are being completed. So people are really it's important to them, and they're taking the time to spend the 15 to 20 minutes to go through it. And you don't have to do it all at once. You could save it and go back to it. But they're doing it, and it's amazing, and I want to under-promise and over-deliver, but I have a funny feeling with a couple of the partners we're working with right now, there's a good chance that 2,200 surveys is going to double by the time we get to this meeting on Friday.
That would be great. That would be great. So when will we actually expect to see results from the survey?
We will share results at the meeting, and as part of the real-time polling questions will be pulled from some of the results we've already seen from the survey. So for those that haven't taken the survey, they'll be able to at least answer those questions during the broadcast and during the meeting. And then afterwards, we're obviously going to post a complete full report and report on everything, not just the good.
And I think I read somewhere as well, the survey remains open, doesn't it, for a couple of weeks? Or you did say that after the meeting?
The survey remains open till, I believe, June 22nd as of right now.
Great. And can you just tell me as well, I know the FDA will have a presence there, but what are you looking for? Like, what's your wish list if you had one or two things to actually get out of this survey? The results?
It's a great question. So the survey was designed for the FDA as the audience. So they're looking at symptoms before, and then they're looking at symptoms and outcomes after. A lot of our patients, think we're going to go change insurance with this and change policy. This is the beginning of the conversation. It's not the end of it, and it's not going to solve all our problems. But it's the first time that a regulator who looks at devices for sleep apnea and drugs for sleep apnea will get the full story from us. And that hasn't been done before. Usually they'll see a patient in the room. It'll be a manufacturer sponsored patient. It's one patient. They're very intimidated. They're talking to a doctor. It's very paternalistic. It's not a bidirectional conversation like we're having right now. The meeting is when people say patient-centered, patient engagement, it's become the token catchphrase word. We are truly a patient-centered organization. We are patient-run, patient-led, patient-funded. and we're actually out doing the research and doing the advocacy work. So it's not just another token, meeting in the DC Beltway area. This is patients coming from all around the country. These aren't professional patients that are going to be up on the panel that get paid to do this for a living. These people, it means something to them, and it's changed their life for the good or for the bad, and they want to help others. We really had we had so many applications come in. We felt bad turning some away, to be honest.
Wow. That really is exciting. So it's great to hear again from peers, and hopefully that'll promote real change in this community, and people start picking up that this is a real serious chronic disorder that people struggle to live with every day. And if something can be done to alleviate some of these things, then I think that's just a great thing. So again, the participation of everybody, it's really helpful to put your thoughts down there, complete the survey so that they can get a good wide response. And Adam, when you did say that as well, once the results are published, how will that be communicated?
We will disseminate it on. It'll be the report will live on the FDA website, which we'll share to our public, to our community. We'll email it. We'll post it on Facebook. It'll be in our forum. It'll also live on our website. And then there'll be a lot of reporters in the room, and there'll be a lot of online print. We've been doing press releases, so there's a good chance that the data that we're going to report on and really up-to-date numbers are going to be picked up, I would think, nationally, if not globally, just based on the amount of interest in the sleep apnea field right now. Everybody seems to be headed towards that direction. On the consumer and the medical side. That's a whole nother conversation.
Good. So when we said about registering, are there still seats available?
There are still seats available to register in person. Tonight's the last night to do it, but if you are a patient and you walk up that morning, we will not turn anyone away.
Right.
But you can register online for the live broadcast all the way up until the meeting. So that's always going to be an option and available to anybody.
Wonderful. So again, I think, the whole essence of this is, to get as many people participating in the survey as possible. I think you're right, Adam. After the actual event, I'm sure that'll actually fuel a lot of people to even go out there and complete it. They'll be so excited afterwards. So, again, that's why we're sort of promoting this in great detail.
I was not to interrupt you, Kevin, but I was going to say, I mean, we initially, when we started planning this, we thought that the meeting would help engage and get a lot more survey completes, but we've already been blown away by the amount of surveys that we've gotten. Wonderful. And it's not moving the dial now that we have such big numbers as far as, skewing the answers, but I'm sure there'll be a whole nother wave, like you said, after the meeting that, might not have ever heard of it, and then, they get a Google alert or whatever it is, and yeah, I want to go be a part of that. I want my name, my data counted in there. So
yeah, I think it was a smart decision to keep it open for a couple of weeks after the event, so that I'm sure you'll see the numbers increase.
That was Kim McCleary's decision. She's the brains behind this operation. I'm just the heart.
Well done, Kim. So Adam, before we leave that topic, or I will digress a little bit, because I also I was curious about the program that you guys are running at the moment where people are getting access to machines and supplies. Do you want to just tell people about that again so they're aware?
So the manufacturers in the past have donated us obsolete machines, return machines, gently refurbished machines, and sample masks. Masks have a lifespan if they sit in a plastic bag. And about 4 or 5 years ago, when I first joined the ASA, we had this small little, what we called the CPAP assistance program that was started by Tracy Nasco, who's a former board member of ours, and Mark Seeger, who runs Second Wind CPAP, which is an online refurbished CPAP retailer. And they wanted to they were getting requests all day long for these people, for patients who had no money or had little money, and they knew they had a prescription and they couldn't even go get a mask or a machine. So we started, the manufacturers, we started providing for a donation fee and a program fee for about 1/10 the price, a mask, a machine, and a hose. And we actually now are offering a resupply program just for the mask alone for the year. For a $100 donation, you can get a full mask, machine, and hose, and for $25, you can get a replacement mask as often as you want. And we've placed about 5,000 in the last couple of years. When there's emergency disasters like the hurricane activity we had last year in Texas and in Puerto Rico, we were able to send bulk loads of machines down to both those areas once they had power back on. Obviously, Puerto Rico has been a long time coming. So it is a vital service. Some people use them as backup machines when they lose power. This is the hurricane season, so that's also another thing. Some people use them for travel. But the bottom line is those 5,000 machines that we put into our patients' hands would have gone into the bottom of a trash pile or into the landfill. And for a tenth of the price, we can get them out there through a program fee, as long as we have proof of prescription. And you can go to our online application at sleepapnea.org is the CPAP assistance program, and you can look for that right there. It's the acronym is CAP, but it stands for CPAP, which is Continuous Positive Airway Pressure Assistance Program. And not only are we looking to get machines out to people, but because we've been so successful with this, our biggest ask is that for those of you that have old machines in your closets, or you're not using them, or the stubborn husband doesn't want to use them, or someone unfortunately passed, we want to make sure we get those into the hands of people that can use them. They are workhorses. They're strong. They can be cleaned. We can replace the replaceable parts. We can clean the filters, and we can make sure we're getting these machines to people so that their lives can be better and not worse.
Wow, I think that's a real amazing program, because there's so many people that, unfortunately just don't have the means to keep up with supplies or even purchase a machine in the first place. So it's a wonderful program. Well done.
Yeah, it's the testimonials we've seen out of there makes what we're doing every day at the ASAA, the American Sleep Apnea Association. It makes it really easy. It cuts through all the garbage. We're having direct positive results on patients' lives, and we can see it, we can touch it, we can taste it. We're getting the feedback back. And I think that's why over the last 5 years, we're a 25-year-old organization, but we're really a 5-year startup. We're really a 5-year-old patient organization. Sure. And over that 5 years, we've done a lot. We've learned a lot. We've been in the research world. We've worked with the federal regulators. We've worked with private industry too, with Apple and IBM and some of those initiatives. So we've really learned, not just me, not just our board, but our community, about standing up for ourselves and being our own advocate. I mentioned it earlier. It's that paternal thing. You go to you speak to your doctor, they talk down to you, they tell you what you need. You forget the 20 questions you want to ask. We're looking for shared decision making. This is a disease that we have to live with every day. Checking in with a doctor every 3 months and hoping that their 5 minutes and their attention span can help you fix your problem, it's not realistic. So if and when you get to that point where you had that experience and you need the help, we want it to pay back forward. So that's whether it's through the Awake Network, whether it's through the CPAP assistance program, or even participating in something like this, the Awake Sleep Apnea Initiative. This is really our first national Awake meeting. The Awake groups have been around for a long time, but they're more social. They're more cookie and coffees meetings for people in their general areas, which are great. And I just came from an amazing one in Cocoa Beach, Florida, run by Christina Weaver, where we actually took some portraits of patients. They'll be on display at the meeting, done by an amazing patient advocate, Gilles Freeman, the founder of ACOR and Smart Patients. And they meet once a month, and they had, on a pouring rainy night in Florida, they had 30, 40 people in the room. And they all stood around and wanted to talk, and they want to know, and they didn't have all the answers, and I sure as hell don't have all the answers, but together in a shared decision sort of process, we learn from each other. And that's what we're asking for. We're not asking to be the doctors. We're not asking to take control. What we're asking for is we want to be the co-pilot in that seat. It's our life, it's our bodies, it's our outcomes.
Great. And I think we've always been big advocates for having the patient be their own advocate, and also promoting adherence as well to the therapy, because that's quite important. And giving people.
And let me stop you there, because that's used a lot. People, first the insurance term is compliance. Now we say the politically correct word, adherence.
Yeah.
These arbitrary rules for this disease of having to wear it 4 hours or 70% of the time in the first 90 days, so that somebody doesn't come and take your machine away for you is crazy in itself, because if you're on diabetes meds and you're not using your meds, nobody comes to your door and knocks on your door and wants to look in your medicine cabinet. Same for hypertension. This is the only disease. And what's so crazy and asinine, quite honestly, about this adherence rule that's in place and the policy that's in place is that you need that machine in the last 4 hours of your night's sleep, not the first 4. That's when most of your REM is really going to happen, and when most of your apneas are going to really spike. So this arbitrary number that's been set and that the insurance companies go by and the sleep doctors haven't changed, it's ludicrous. It was just 2 doctors having a glass of wine in a meeting. This is the number they have to meet. That's adherent. So I'm off my soapbox.
Good. I agree with you. You know, and I don't want to make it look like I was trying to say that you have to be adherent, but I want people to be comfortable with their treatment so that they can be, you know, get the therapy that they need.
The thing for me is I want to make sure that anyone that's never had a good opportunity or a good positive result with CPAP, the dog has made a visit. Anyone that's had a good positive experience with CPAP, there.
Get off the bed.
Lady, she's getting ready for bed. Right my wife's spot too. Anyone that's had a positive experience or that hasn't, you know, the key is that first 7 days, that first 3 days. And unlike diabetes health educators, which it took the diabetes community about 10 years to get to the point where if you're diagnosed with diabetes, you have to go through a certain amount of education before you can take your medicine and know how to administer and live with it. We need to get that in place for our sleep apnea patients, because normally right now they're going to a durable medical equipment. Someone's handing them a brick and fitting them with a mask, and basically it's good night and good luck, and you're off on your own to figure this out. And so getting that initials in that first 7 days, getting people and holding their hand, especially when they're cognitively impaired and sleep deprived, and helping them adjust to the mask. And it's just like any drug. You got to learn to build up your tolerance and get used to the pressure. And it's a foreign thing. But you'll get to a point where you're someone like me, where my biggest fear is not sleeping with a mask. It's, God forbid, I ever went to sleep without it now. Mm-hmm. That's my fear. Losing power is my biggest fear and anxiety in life. Because I wouldn't know what to do without this mask. Yes, it's my crutch, but until we find a cure, and we're looking for a cure, and this kind of data we're getting from the survey is going to help us go down that path so that we're not just talking about treating it, but actually looking for a cure. It's going to change a lot of people's lives, because there's people using oral appliances, there's people with the upper glossal nerve stimulator, there's people having surgical interventions, whether it's something with their tongue or breaking their jaw, or for children with their tonsils and adenoids. I mean, there is a lot of things. I mean, I guess the dog got bored of our conversation. So
good. So before we wrap up, Adam, anything else? I mean, again, here the main essence of tonight is to promote the survey, and again discuss the meeting. It sounds like it's just going to be so exciting and so worthwhile for a lot of people. Anything else you want to add?
No, I just want to thank you for everything that you've been doing as far as being a public face and being medically trained and coming from the transplant world and dealing with all organs and all bodies, all different, I'm not speaking good right now, but all different parts of the body. But being a friend and being an ally to those of our patients out there that need someone to turn to, because this is a disease of denial, and people are in denial about it, and they laugh, and snoring is funny, and you know, it was always laughed upon, but it's, you know, you're a skinny man, you know, it's not the fat, obese man. And it's changing part of that stigma and stereotype is part of why we're doing these Facebook Lives, but also why we're having these meetings, so that we break the stereotypes. And this disease does not discriminate. We will literally have someone who graduated from the top of their class at MIT on the panel, and we will have social workers and people who never got out of high school on this panel. And so it doesn't play favorites by any means.
Good. I think it's important to have a broad section because people can have somebody they can maybe relate to. Thank you for your compliments and your engagement there. I actually prefer the word lean myself, but anyway. So I'm happy to be involved. Okay.
Thank you, Kevin, and thank you for doing this. And sorry to make you blush, but go and enjoy your dinner and have a good night. And we'll see you soon.
All right. Thank you, everybody. I hope this was beneficial, and look forward to hearing from the survey results. Can't wait.
Thanks, Kevin.
Good night.
Good night.